where does my skill set lie? My skill set lay at the time in building rapport with clients, so like taking a phone number and turning that phone number into a conversation, turning that conversation into a relationship, and then turning that relationship into a client, and turning that client into a transaction.
I saw this brilliant thing floating around social media where it's like Amber Heard, like looking straight at Johnny Depp and says like, "Look at me, Johnny, like, do you still love me, yada, yada, yada." And Johnny said, "This is probably the last time we're ever going to talk." And then some realtor was like, "Make sure if you ever sell a property, you use those." I was like, dude, they got me. It was crazy. And I'm not even really into that thing. For the people that were really into that, they probably freaking love that thing. So
it was surprising how many people were really into that and were very boisterous about it and outspoken about it. I mean, on social media, I was like shocked. I'll be honest. I'm kind of like unplugged from the real world in that sense.
Right.
So I didn't even understand what was going on. I had to ask my wife eventually because I was just seeing so much of it. I'm like, what's even happening? I don't even know didn't even know who Amber Heard was. I didn't even know Johnny Depp was married.
Well, I think the key is like it takes three to tango. So like Johnny's crazy, she's crazy, and then the people who just obsessed over it are crazy. Like takes through.
Exactly.
No offense to anybody who was all in on that, but like, it happens every once in a while, the OJ trial, John Wayne Bobbitt, there's all kinds of things that people end up, whatever. But all right, well, let's go ahead and get started, guys. Well, thank you for hopping on. I'm excited to have Ryan and eventually Ara here with us. They run the spring team out of Ontario, Canada.
Toronto, Ontario.
Yep. And Toronto was the site of the recent RBC Canadian Open. I don't know if you're a golfer, Ryan, but like it was awesome. I'm a big Tony Finau guy, so I was happy to see Tony up there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great final. It was a great final round.
Yeah. Did you go?
No, I didn't get a chance to get out there. I have some friends that went, but with two young kids and a real estate team, so a bunch of other kids, it's tough to get out for a full day of something like that. But when they're bigger, I'll have some free time again.
Well, here's the key, and this has nothing to do with what we're talking about today, but my wife hated golf until my sons are now old enough they play with me. And the coolest part is like, I'll go play golf with my 18-year-old or my 10-year-old.
Yep.
And I'm a hero. My wife's like, "This is the greatest thing ever. You're so like wonderful for doing this." And so it's one of those little secrets of the trade. Don't tell anybody, but if you want your wife to love golf, start taking your kids with you.
Exactly.
All right. So Ryan, tell us about the spring team. Like, who are you guys? How did this come about? Like, how'd you get into real estate? What's the origin story for you and for spring team?
The spring team, yeah. So I got into real estate about a decade ago. I was fresh back. I lived abroad for 6 years, and I came back to Toronto with an MBA and got a desk job, and hated it. I had been an entrepreneur my whole life, got a desk job, hated it. Fell into real estate, and I joined a team right away. That would be my biggest piece of advice to any new agent, is always join a team where you can be, you have the opportunity to learn, be mentored, and get leads. And I really think I took full advantage of that. So I joined a small it was a small team at the time. There was about 12 of us. We had two websites. We had a website called mrloft.ca. And when I joined, they had just launched a new website called condos.ca. So at that time, maybe not even 12 agents, 8 agents, one full-time admin staff, one full-time kind of tech developer guy. And I just realized that, okay, if I bang the phones and call all these leads, there's an opportunity to make a lot of money here. And I remember, I sat down with the guy who started the team, and real estate prices weren't near what they are in Toronto today back in 2011. So he asked, "How much money do you want to make?" And, we were on a 50-50 split. And I said, I want to make six figures. And he said, that's nobody in their first year has ever done that before. So then I had to prove him wrong. And I did do it. I think I was the first number one agent, my first quarter with the team, full quarter with the team, and never looked back. Fast forward, after about 5 years, we grew, I ended up buying into the company, and we grew to, when I left the company, we were 260 agents throughout the GTA and Vancouver, with, the number one real estate website in Toronto. And at that point, so in about 2017, I switched into a leadership role and was running the whole thing from a sales perspective. And yeah, we were 260 agents, over $1 billion a year in real estate sold. And then COVID hit, and the company had changed, and it had gotten very corporate. And I was sitting in meetings, listening to HR complaints and stuff that wasn't really in my wheelhouse. And I decided I was happiest in real estate when we were a small team, and it was like really family knit. When we were like everywhere from 10 to 100 agents is when I loved it. And Ara was actually he owned one of our branches, and he decided he wanted to shut down the branch. Some of the promises that he'd been promised hadn't been come through. So we just decided to, head out and start our own team. And yeah, so now we're a team of Ara and myself, and then we have 2 new agents. And then 5 agents. So we're still a small team. So 7 of us total, admin, or an ops manager, and then full-time admin as well.
Well, you said a couple of things that I really liked. I mean, you said a lot of things that I really liked. Talk about, what do you think, or what have you been able in a decade of doing this? There's a resistance or aversion to teams. It's almost like those who have been a part of teams and had a successful experience view them as an amazing benefit.
Yeah.
And then there's those never teamers that have an obsession with the percentage of commission they keep, who generally, what was interesting when we ran our brokerage, generally the top 2 or 3 agents, not as far as production solely, but as far as income generated, the top 2 to 3 agents at our company were agents that were on teams. As far as their 1099, how much they were receiving. And the funniest thing was, I knew team leaders whose 1099s were less than high producing team members. And I also knew that that team members 1099 would show their actual dollars paid to them, where the team members 1099 would show their gross revenue pre-cost. But then there's this screw you guys, I'm just going to be solo and keep 100% of my commission. So I think it was interesting that early on you saw, if I'm going to do this, I need to be a part of a team. And now you're in the team world in leadership. So talk a little bit about what our industry, possibly some of the things you've seen, but also just what gave you that idea that if I'm going to do this, I really need to be a part of a team.
Well, the biggest thing is I'm a lifelong learner. I think I can always learn from someone else. And, whether it's the brand new agent who just got hired and is sitting down at the boardroom table for a call session the first time, to, the person that's been in the business since 1965. I think everyone out there can teach me something, and we can all learn from someone. So as a lifelong learner, I'm like, how do I surround myself with the most people that are willing to give me insight and input into their businesses and what has made them successful in the business, right? So that was number 1 for me.
Right.
Number 2 is I come from a family of cheap Scots. Okay, I'm Scottish, and my mom's an accountant. Those 2 things, penny pincher to the nines. And my mom taught me very early that like 100% of zero is fucking zero.
Right.
And like, where can, you know, where can I make the most money? And then the biggest thing for me I looked at is like, where is my skill set lie, right? My skill set lay at the time in building, building rapport with clients, so like taking a phone number and turning that phone number into a conversation, turning that conversation into a relationship, and then turning that relationship into a client, and turning that client into a transaction. That's where my skill set was at that time, right? And I said, where can I be that that's all I focus on? 100% of my energy goes into my skill set. And the team environment, if you're on a team that's structured well, allows you that and allows you to focus your time where you're strongest. And that's how you're going to connect with the most people. You're going to have the most conversations, which means you're going to then in turn have the most relationships, and then in turn have the most potential clients. And so that was huge for me, is I wanted to solely focus. And, since getting into team leadership, as you said, Joe, like I actually probably made more money take home in 2017. Okay. And just to put this in perspective, real estate prices have jumped about 50% since 2017 in Toronto, maybe 40. And I took home more in 2017 as a team member than I will this year running a team with seven agents. So just to put that in perspective. Now, the big thing that I think people aren't understanding is real estate is changing, right? Real estate has changed. It's a totally different business than it was even 10 years ago, thanks to the internet, right? And how you're meeting people, how you're able to interact with people. The old model of real estate was very ego driven. Okay. It was like about my name, my personality. I want my face on the sign, my face on the business card, so on and so forth. If you want to be successful in real estate today, no one cares who you are. Okay. No one cares who you are. They don't care about your face on a sign. They care about the services that you can provide, because it's so competitive out there, right? And at what level you provide those services, the knowledge that you bring to the table, and the number one things that matters, getting them the most money for their home or getting them the best deal on the home they buy. Okay. And so being part of a team that can provide all of that for you, especially as a new agent, not even as a new agent, as an agent that wants to focus on transacting and being a producer in real estate, why would you be somewhere else where you have to focus on all of those other things, where you have to focus on the marketing? You have to focus on building out the process. You have to focus on, training staff, training agents, hiring, all of those things that take up so much of your day, when you can focus as a team member where everything else is done for you. You can focus on income producing. We're in a production business. Income producing habits.
Well, I think there's so much you said that is super powerful. One of the great, I would say, blessings of my life is having rich friends.
Yeah.
Not because I can borrow money from them, but because I can learn from them. And here's what it looks like. A couple of my buddies, old high school pals, periodontist, so like a gum doctor, and personal injury attorneys, orthodontists, right? So when we have conversations about economics, there have been times in my career where I probably sounded like a freaking maniac to them, because I'm like, hey man, I've got to bail on golf because I've got to go meet this guy and unpack boxes at his house. Or you know what? Hey, can we stop really quick? I got to get on my laptop and get an SRPD sent out for signatures and whatever. And then there's almost like this point of like, bro, are you a freaking maniac? Like, you're trying to make the money we make as doctors and lawyers, but you're trying to be everything. Like, do you understand, as a lawyer, I have a front desk girl or guy, I've got paralegals, I've got, I've got runners, I've got all these people that do these things. And then I get involved in the thing that makes us the most amount of money, which is negotiation on behalf of my client. And then as soon as negotiation on behalf of my client, if I'm a personal injury attorney, is done, I hand it back over to my paralegal. As soon as I've chopped up gums and packed it in, I hand it back to my assistant or my billing person. And then we as real estate professionals are all, no, screw this. I'm going to do everything myself. And then we wonder why the average real estate agent does somewhere between 2 and 3 transactions per year. And it's because we don't treat our business as a business. We treat it as I'm going to prove to everyone, and I think this is actually born out of insecurity. I'm going to prove to everyone I'm worth what I make, because we've all said at the closing table, somebody's been like, sweetheart, Ryan showed us 3 houses. He then came to an inspection and a walkthrough. He then made $18,000. Like, based on what I could see, he spent 2 hours worth of work. So then we try to justify that $18,000 by running to Home Depot for them, by watching their children when they pack, by doing all these crazy activities, including all the paperwork ourselves and everything, sitting at a 3-hour-long home inspection to prove we're worth our money. And in reality, at the end, our clients actually have less appreciation for what we've done rather than more. One of a watershed moment, we had a kid, he's still with us. He was a young realtor. He got licensed at 21. And he took a Saturday away from his family to go and move this family into their house. Like, physically, like, sounds great, right? It's almost like a realtor, real estate is our life type of activity. And he got done, and the clients like ripped him a new one. They were mad that he couldn't stay longer. He was there for like 6 hours, and they were like, well, can't you stay? We've still got more stuff to move in. And it was a watershed moment for him, because he was like, dude, I took 6 hours out of my life to try to be the next thing for these people in that circle of being everything to these people. And it actually caused them to have less respect for me than more. And so talk about when somebody makes that transition, because I, like you, I believe the future of real estate exists in large team conglomerates.
100%.
Like, we spend somewhere between $50,000 and $75,000 per month in marketing and advertising.
Yep.
So it's going to be hard for the solo agent that's like, I'm just going to sell houses to my golf buddies. You know who's going to sell houses to his golf buddies? You guys. Yeah. Or us. Yeah. Because we're spending so much money to reach them. So when does somebody make that transition from, I've been successful on a team for 5 years, to now it's time for me to move into leadership? Because as you said, like, people walk into our office or they see their check and they're like, man, Joe and Taylor get a little piece of everything I do. And I'm like, yeah, but did you notice that the office was 73 degrees today? Do you know that I have to pay for that? Did you notice, like, when you use the restroom, there was toilet paper? Do you notice that I have to pay for that? Did you notice there's a, and it's like, they don't take into account everything around them. They think it magically shows up. And then every time they get a commission split on their check, they're like, man, these guys are making so much money. And it's like, well, bro, who do you think cleans the carpet? It just magically cleans itself. So when does somebody go from a great producing member of a team to, okay, cool, it's time to start my own?
Sometimes never. So here's the way I look at it, okay? I think the only time someone should consider moving from being a high producing team member to a team leader is when you can add more value to your team members than your clients. Okay. So for me, the transition was this. As a lifelong learner, I was a maniac my first 5 years in the business. I worked 90 hours a week. I paid for every sales course possible. I would do Jordan Belfort, I would do Buffini, I did it all. Okay. And I would do non-real estate related stuff and try to adapt it to real estate. So I had done, an average of 50 transactions a year. So I was at 250 transactions. I had seen everything. And, at that point when I went into leadership was because I felt I could add more value to more people by adding value to team members who would then input that value to their clients, right? So how can the value that I add touch more people? Because I'm only one person, can only do so much. And to become a team leader, it has to be about adding value to other people. And if it's about money, you'll never be successful. And you should stay a team agent where you get to focus on what? Income producing activities, right? Because a lot of what I do now isn't income producing, but it's value add. And I care about really adding value to as many people's lives as possible and uplifting the people on my team and the people around me. But that's not for everyone, right?
Well, and I think you hit on something there, and I hope you guys pick that up. When you feel like you are ready to transition your focus from consumers to real estate professionals, it may be time to become a team leader. But if your passion is showing homes and listing properties and, negotiating contracts, that's not the passion of a team leader. Like, I wake up every day and I come to my office and I'm all in for our Vegas team, our Nashville team, our Oklahoma City team, our Utah teams. Like, that is my passion. And so I don't view my clients, I don't view as people buying and selling homes. I personally view my clients as the real estate agents that have put their trust in me to say, hey, Joe, I need to feed my family. I'm really, really good at these three things. If you could be good at the other three things, then we have something. And that's where team members may not understand that partnership and that passion that goes, that when Ryan wakes up every day, he's not going like, man, how do I sell this next house? He says, how do I help my agents sell that next house? I had a friend of mine reach out to me yesterday. I started playing hockey. My family comes from Quebec, Canada, and Mexico. So I started playing hockey, and my old goalie reached out to me. He was like, hey, bro, I'm thinking of selling my house. Can I get a good deal on this or this? And immediately it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to go to work in production mode. Immediately I started thinking, who in my world would be a good match for Mike? And I thought of Austin. So I hit up Austin. I'm like, hey, it's a buddy of mine. He's my old goalie. Like, if you go find him a deal, yada, yada. And I don't think team members understand that psychology. They almost think I'm the one driving around and showing houses while they sit in their cushy office, whatever. But it's the passion that wakes you up in the morning, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So you just become passionate about different things. And like, at this point in my career, and Angie, I see your question here and I'm going to answer it. So Angie's question was, what would you say is the biggest item or items of value you add to your agent's day? So for me as a team leader, okay, the biggest value that I add is I teach them how to add value to their clients' lives. Okay. And then I teach them how to set the goals to become the person they want to be. Okay. And then on a daily, I teach them how to create the habits and the skill sets that will help them achieve those goals in adding value to other people's lives. Like, no one joins my team if they're about making money. Making money is part of it, but if that's it, you're not a fit for my team. My team is all about how can we add the maximum amount of value to our clients' lives and make the real estate transaction, which is like the biggest transaction of most people's lives, and is, you know, most consumers are uneducated, stressed out, and the whole transaction is shit for them. For me, it's, I train my agents to add value to their clients to make the real estate transaction fun again, right? If you go out and buy a Louis Vuitton bag, is that fun? Fucking right, it's fun, right? A house is 10 to 100 times more expensive than that Louis Vuitton bag. Why the fuck should it not be fun for the consumer? It is our job to add the value, to make it fun, for them to feel confident in that transaction, to make the transaction as fun. House shopping should be fun. Selling your house should be easy, right? And that's the value that I add to my agents. Sorry, I'm passionate about this stuff. You know,
like, so she said, give a specific example. How can so I'm working on this theory, and we're presenting next week. There's a couple of events, one in Vegas, one in Salt Lake, that agents can come to. So the benefit we have is between air, water and food, and shelter, the basic human necessities, right? Those are needs. Sometimes we as real estate professionals think we are a need. The reality is shelter is a need. A real estate professional is a want.
Yep.
So how do you justify the want? How do you help your agents justify the want? Like being wanted. You're almost like, the way you're describing yourself, and I love this, is almost like the movie Hitch. You are Hitch. You're teaching your agents how to be desirable to their clients. So how do we accomplish that?
Okay, so like, here's an example for you. So most of you guys, like, you'll get an online lead, right? Or any lead, you'll get a referral. You get a phone number, okay? So you get a phone number and you call that phone number and you probably qualify them a bit over the phone, ask them some questions. There's probably a property they want to see and you go see that property, right? Is that how you usually meet people?
Generally, yep.
What value did you really add other than opening that door? Which is why people undervalue realtors. So my agents, they get that phone call. They don't go show that property. The first thing we do is we have a 45-minute to an hour and 15-minute buyer consult that every one of our clients sits down with us for. It's even easier now over Zoom, okay? Where we walk them through the entire purchasing process. We walk them through all the financials. We show them spreadsheets. Give me an example of the property you'd like to buy. This is how much it's going to, you know, cost you up front. This is how much your carrying costs, closing costs are going to be. We walk through the whole process. This is when you need to talk to a lawyer. This is what happens in escrow. This is what happens after you drop off the deposit check. Walk them through everything. Then we do, like, you know, an analysis, like a deep dive on what they're looking for and why, right? It's a 45-minute to hour and 15 minutes, but we add so much value there that they walk away from that now feeling comfortable with the purchasing process. And when they go to look at that first home, they're not stressed out. It's fun, right? And that's finding ways along the way in your process to make the process more enjoyable for the client is what it's about. So it's building those systems and processes for our team agents and teaching them how to properly leverage them. That's so, like, that's just a specific example of how we do things differently. Like, I bash on my clients if they go to show a home before they've sat down and done a buyer consult with them.
So really quick, and this one takes some involvement from you guys on the Zoom. Think about this, and I want to see your answer in the chat. When was the last time you joined a gym, and how long did the sign-up process take? So just put in how many minutes, if you can guess how long it took you to actually become a member of the gym you decided to become a member of. Put that in the chat really quick. Angie says 20 minutes, 10 minutes from Connie. Who else? 10 minutes, 30 minutes. Leilani, 45 minutes, 20 minutes. So here's my point, Ryan. Joining a gym is a $17 a month decision. Right? Like, yeah. But if you walk into, like, we have LBAC or, you know, whatever here in Vegas. And if you walk into a gym and go, hello, I'd like to become a member, they're going to go, hold on a second, sir. Before you can do that, let me have Julie show you around. And then you walk around for 15, 20, 30 minutes and then show you equipment. You're like, yeah, no, I already know all this stuff. Let me just sign up. And then they will walk you into their office and walk you through the contract. And joining a $17 a month gym that nobody really uses is a longer consultation process than the highest financial transaction most people will ever do. So I think that's really brilliant.
And that's why we do it. So, and here's just a stat to make it like fall home for people. Okay. Too many agents on the phone are just about, hey, if they're not ready to go for a showing, I don't want to meet them. Okay. It's the biggest mistake. And I'll tell you why. Or like, I've got agents to say like, I only will take somebody out if they're buying in the next 6 months. I'm only meeting someone if they're buying in 6 months or less. 72% of people buy with who?
First agent that they have a face-to-face consultation with.
The first agent that they meet. And 95% of the time, that agent delivers no value other than opening the door. Now imagine that you're the first agent they meet and you deliver a 45-minute to hour and 15-minute consultation that makes them super comfortable and educated on the process and feel like they're now ready to buy, right? Here's what happens. You stuff okay, maybe they're 2 years out. You're stuffing your funnel for the future because they're never going to work with another agent, right? You're stuffing your funnel for the future is number one. B, a lot of these people that are telling you they're 2 years out, it's because they're uneducated and don't know. They may be able to buy sooner than they think. You're going to move people down in the funnel. Okay. 3, you've added so much value that even if they went to a showing with another agent, that other agent's going to look like shit compared to you.
Well, I think what's interesting is,
and last point, and you don't waste your time going to showings with unqualified people. It's way easier for someone to lie to you over the phone about their qualification metrics than it is to your face-to-face.
True. Especially when gas is in Vegas yesterday, gas was $6.22 a gallon. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm always a fan of getting face-to-face, but I think what Ryan's talking about that's brilliant is still get face-to-face, but get face-to-face in a very strategic way. Phil Jones said something. Go ahead.
COVID made this so easy because now it's all over Zoom. When I first started this process, I had to get dressed up, go to the office, prepare. Now, like I put on a collared shirt and I'm still in my underwear and I just bang these out.
I love it. So Phil Jones said something that I thought was really, really brilliant. We talked about it in our team meeting yesterday, which is between people who know you, people who like you, and people who trust you. A lot of us believe trust is the most important, but he said, actually, people will interact with people they like, which is hard, right? Because like in our world, Taylor is the most likable guy I know. I'm not overly likable, but I can create that feeling of them liking me with one very simple hack, which is people like the people who are interested in them. We try to create people liking us by telling them random stuff about us that we think will endear them to us. The reality is people like the people who listen to them. And so in this consult, make sure you're taking time, and I'm sure you coach this, Ryan, to make sure that you're listening to the client's wants and needs, that you're listening to their whys, because their whys is where we make all of our money. Zillow is focusing on their what's, their location, price, and features. If we focus on their wants, we will win the battle of like. So Ryan, we've got a few minutes left. Talk about this. For a lot of the agents on this call are with our same company. Ryan and Ara recently joined Real. You're a powerful team. Your social presence is solid. You guys were previously with another brokerage for quite a while. What was the tipping point that got you guys thinking about Real, and what led you guys into this ecosystem from where you were?
So, what made us decide Real was, I was with a traditional brokerage. They're the number one brokerage in our market. All the biggest teams are there. And when I went there, I thought there was going to be this world of collaboration, of sharing. And we went to some masterminds. They did do a good job of like holding masterminds for the top producing teams. But we go to these masterminds and everyone would share the same face value shit. And they were all old school traditional teams, and really they would be coming to Ara and myself to find out, like, how do you produce leads? How do you convert leads? How do you do this? And like, with being a team leader is a lonely, lonely place. And that's what people don't realize. Being on a team is amazing. Being a team leader was a lonely, lonely place. So number one for me with Real was the opportunity for collaboration with other great team leaders and other great agents like yourself, Joe. That was like the biggest thing for me, was like collaboration with other high producers, right? Like, I'm like, just to throw it out there, like, I got to 7 figures, all right, which was a huge place in my real estate career. And then it became, now what? I don't know anybody else that's doing 7 figures. So who do I learn from? And then, to get the opportunity to have discussions with someone like Joe, who has like, had built the 90-person brokerage. Well, now we're in business together, and Joe wants me to be successful, and you can't have that in any traditional model, right? And that was the biggest thing for me. The other thing is like, I always believed this was the future of real estate. Like when I started my own team, we went like deep with EXP, and EXP was just not the right brand, and it wasn't about production, it was about recruitment. And I still want to be a high producing agent, and I still want to train and coach and mentor other people who want to be high producing agents, but that want to see some benefit from recruiting other agents, right? Because most people who join a brokerage because they know someone else that's at that brokerage that's more successful than they are, and they want that success. So if I'm helping recruit people to that brokerage, why shouldn't I get a piece of the pie? And that's what Real really allowed for me. And to be honest, all the stock options, all that stuff, that was, to be honest, I had already joined Real and was already in my first pitch meeting with a small team to come over before I even knew that existed. I discovered it while we were going through the Why Real deck. And I was like, oh shit, and we get these stock options if we do this, and we get this. They were already sold as well, because they were all about collaboration and being producers themselves. So that was what it was about for me with Real, and why it made sense.
Well, and I think
you guys wouldn't be getting me if you weren't part of Real and I wasn't part of Real. I mean, I would, for this 30-minute talk, I would ask Joe for $3,000, and he probably would have told me I was nuts.
I would have paid it, bro. Like, I'm in. But I think something you said is super valuable, which is every agent makes every decision twice. Every consumer makes every decision twice. They make it generally emotionally before they can make it logically. And so as you're talking about collaboration, it ends up making sense up here, but first it has to make sense here, which you're like, dude, I want to be a part of something bigger. It feels good when I'm in rooms with individuals who are building and growing and trying to accomplish what I'm accomplishing. And then the logic hits where you're like, oh crap, we get stock options for doing that. And so it's, I think so often when we're trying to focus on agent attraction, either to our team or to our company, we focus on the logical approach to it, which is you get stocks, you get revenue share, you get lead generation on a team, you get transaction management. So we focus on the logistics of it. But if we skip over the heart of it, which is like this morning is not an income producing activity for any of us in and of itself. We're not opening a door, we're not negotiating, we're not writing a contract. But the collaboration at the heart of this is a ton of individuals that watch this or listen to the podcast later are going to be like, dude, I learned something from Ryan that hit my heart that I'm applying in my head and is now becoming part of my business. And it all happened because at your core, at my core, we are collaborators. We're bridge builders. We want to be a part of something bigger. And I think ultimately, 2 years from now, when it's 2024, we're going to look back on the no, screw you guys, I'm cool. The guy who, prayed to God to get saved from a flood, and he sends a boat and he sends a helicopter and he sends a scuba diver to save the guy. And he says, no, God's going to save me. And then all of a sudden he drowns, meets God and says, hey, God says, I sent you 3 ways to get off of that house, right? And it's almost like those guys who are like, you know what, screw you, I'm just going to do it myself. Those are the ones I feel the most sorry for, because I'm going to hit you up at some point and be like, Ryan, how would you approach this? You're going to hit me up at some point and say, hey, Joe, how would you approach this? I'm in Vegas, you're in Toronto. We've got agents across North America, and we're all building and collaborating together. And the logistics of it makes a ton of sense. But like you, I almost felt it here first. Like you said, I felt like this was the future of real estate.
Yep.
And then once you felt it, then you logically had it make sense, which is
I mean, I think this is the future of real estate, and I wanted to be involved. And so people ask my IG, I'll throw it in here in the chat. It's at Ryan Wykes _URE, and my team is at the Spring Team.
Well, and I think you guys have a really cool approach to social. I think you guys, like when you're like Gary Vee always talks about documentation over creation. I think you guys do a really good job of documenting what it's like to be, a real estate professional in your area, what it's like to be on a team, what it's like to be a team leader. It's not sterile. It's very organic. And I think one thing you guys can learn from Ryan and Ara and their team is, like, even your guys' launch was creative. If you guys haven't seen their real launch video, they literally passed the mic to everyone in their world. They're like, here's why I think it's awesome. And it wasn't cut and paste and like sterile. It was, I think you guys were out walking around on the street.
Yeah. Somebody like grabbed outside, some of it was in our office. Yeah.
So our
whole thing, guys, is like one last piece of advice is, and this is, speak to the people you want to work with, and not because you want to work with them because of their income bracket or their price point. It's like, think about who you would truly enjoy working with, and then be organic to those people. Yeah. That's it. Like, and that's how you're going to end up working with clients that you like, not clients that you hate. Be organic to the people that you want to connect with. That's it.
Well, and I love that. There's this, so in Vegas, if you ever come out around Christmas time, it's crazy. You drive about 20 minutes outside of Vegas, and there's a company called Western Elite, and they run this huge Christmas village. Yep. You get out there and everything is free. The food is free. The train ride is free. Santa Claus is free. Like, it's massive. And you're thinking, like, how on earth do they afford this? What is this? Do you know what this place is? Take a guess. You guys take a guess, people not from Vegas, what this company does that puts on an entire Christmas, like, Polar Express experience for the community of Las Vegas, 2 million people, absolutely free. Put in the chat what you think these guys do for a living. I want to see if anybody could take a guess. Real estate company, Connie, that's a good guess. I think personal injury attorneys would make sense. They build houses, was Ryan's guess. You know what these guys do? They pick up trash.
Wow.
Like, they're a garbage company. But what they've done is they've said they're a commercial garbage company. So they deliver big dumpsters and they pick them up and they haul them out of town. So what they do is they go to the companies that they do their commercial waste disposal for, and they give free tickets to all of the company owners to give to their employees, and their employees freaking love it. And so to your point, just be authentic and be real and be thoughtful around the type of person you want to work with, and then make sure your business model and your approach to the world matches. Like, if I was in your area and I was looking to purchase a home and I came across your guys' stuff, I'd be like, dude, the number one thing I would say is, I like these guys. And that's more important, oddly enough, than I trust them or any of those things. It's like, I can roll with these guys, which is ultimately a super solid way to approach, you know, your real estate social profile.
Yeah, because then you enjoy who you work with. Anyways, guys, I just wanted to say I love talking real estate. So, you know, if you add me on social and you jump into my DMs, I'll always respond. You got questions, let me know. I'm happy to help. As I said, I'm the type of person that we can all add value to each other's lives. And if you're not adding value, you know, you're dying out there. So
love it. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Ryan, thank you. We'll get you a copy of this when it's live on the podcast. And you guys follow Ryan, follow Ara, follow the Spring team, learn from what they do. You're going to have some value to provide to them. They're going to have some value to provide to you. And that's why we're doing this, so we can learn and grow together. Have a great day, guys.
Great.